Okay, so for many animal species, or the males of many animal species, most notably frogs, engage in what is known as lekking behavior, where they congregate in a prime habitat and will broadcast calls in order to attract receptive females. However, these are broad broadcasts where anybody can pick them up, including bystanders like other competing males, as well as potential predators. These bystander individuals are also known as eavesdroppers because what they can do is they can receive these signals, extract information from these signals, and use that information to change their own behavior, often to the detriment of the signal producer. So the presence of these eavesdroppers and the ability to eavesdrop is just one ecological factor that can influence the evolution of how and why animals communicate. That brings us to the green tree frog, Hyla cinerea. The males of this species of frog do engage in lekking behavior, gathering and producing calls to attract females. Now, females, green tree frogs, directly assess these calls, and they focus in on the frequency of these calls. Female green tree frogs tend to prefer larger males that produce low-frequency calls, quack, 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 and tend to reject smaller males which produce higher-frequency calls, quack, quack, quack. Now, the females directly assess, but what about the other males that may be around? Can they also assess the calls of competitor males and change their behavior? And that's the central question for this study. So what we did is we went out into the fields, collected male frogs, brought them back into the lab and placed them into a soundproof chamber. And we exposed them to one of three call playbacks: a low frequency, average frequency, and high frequency call, and asked whether or not they altered their behavior. And the short answer is yes, they do alter their behavior. When exposed to the low frequency playback alone, large males tended to be very quick to start calling and spent more time calling, while smaller males almost didn't call at all, spent very little time calling, or were very slow to start calling, showing that they do assess competitor male calls, and this can potentially impact how they act within their natural environments. Thank you.